ado. Welcome to 5 Reasons Smart Women Settle for Less and the Small Shifts That Bring Big Abundance. If you are here live, thank you for being here. Just say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're calling from. And if you're going to be joining me on the replay, welcome, welcome. Just hit hashtag replay if you catch this on Facebook, and I'll be letting you know where else you can catch the recordings if you're brand new to me. So this has been a 6-part mini training, and today we are doing the 6th part. We had an overview and we went over the 5 reasons, or so far 4, and today is reason number 5, that smart women settle for less and the small shifts that bring big abundance. So here we go. Oh, I forgot to update that. I'm going to do that live. Here we go. There we go. Reason number 5 that smart women settle for less is you look for fulfillment in the wrong place. So today we are going to talk about what fulfillment is and is not, and where to find it. Let me get rid of this little funny thing here. I don't know if I can do anything about that. Hopefully you don't see this annoying thing. Okay. So if you are new here, or if you need this as a refresher, you can get all of the recordings and handouts at this link, surpassyourlimits.com 5 reasons. The handout for this particular training will be going up in the next 24 hours, and they will be available anytime that you click on that link. And meanwhile, if you'd like to take notes, I encourage it. Also, you can just let it wash over you and then come back and let yourself go deeper with it as you revisit. So the overarching purpose of this training is to illuminate how to access your untapped power to thrive generously for yourself, your loved ones, and our world. And the theme for this entire training is that the places you feel unfulfilled point to the places you've been settling for less than the natural abundance that's available to you. And that the reason we do this is not because it's our fault or it's a flaw, but because we're operating from misinformation and missing information. So we don't know any better, and so we settle. We just settle for what we know. So this is about kind of blowing the lid off of those limits and really giving you the information you need to go beyond where you've been settling. Now, because this is our last training, I wanted to take a time at the beginning to just a little bit of time to give you more information about a way that you can integrate what you've been learning in this training through a program. So you're invited to consider exploring this. And I haven't gone into it because I just really wanted to focus on this training, but this training really has been a preview for the Thrive Generously program, Live and Lead from Your Natural Abundance. And this program starts on January 31st. And we have a lovely group of people coming together and a number of people who are in the decision-making process. So I just really wanted to make sure that you knew that doors are open. And if you're interested, at the very end, I'll give you some more information about how you can reach out to me to learn more, to see if it's a match for you. And there was something else I was going to say about that. Anyway. So, oh yes, and then I'll send you the information. So just to explore a little bit about what this is, to give it a little bit more context for this training, is that the Thrive Generously program is a collaborative leadership development experience. Now, whether you consider yourself a leader or you want to be a leader, this training approaches this in a way that I haven't really seen anywhere else. To me, I wanted to provide something where I saw some gaps. And if you go back to the overview of this training, I did a lot of research. I did informational interviews. I've been working with accomplished professional women for 27 years plus. And I did a lot of polling and did basically qualitative research instead of just quantitative, but I did quantitative and I got statistics as well. And this helped me see that there's an absolute information gap in the space of leadership development, especially for women who have been either operating on a masculine or doing model of power, or working in environments that have been for men by men. And one of the things that's very, very important to me and that I'm really passionate about is I am committed to elevating the conversation when it comes to gender and equity and all of this masculine feminine dynamic that has been adversarial. And so for me, in the leadership space, I am passionate about elevating the conversation because we've outgrown fighting for our rights to understand what it means to stand for the common good. Now, this is across all genders, but we've been talking a lot in this training about the doing versus the being model of power. We've talked about how we all have a story and we're all products of our environment. And this collaborative leadership development experience is an opportunity to really tap into the missing information through the 5 missing assets and really discover a whole, yet to be developed, yet to be fully realized feminine model of power, bringing that into spaces where it's been either absent or malnourished. So I've been really passionate about this for multiple decades when I first got into leadership development, and now is the time. So that's where this is coming from. With that in mind, this is a being program, not a doing program. Most people hear leadership development, training and programs. Oh no, I have to take more time. I have to work harder. I have to use my mind. I have to do more things. No, it's not about that. This is about the power of presence. So you'll be having an opportunity, if this is a match for you, to practice showing up as fully as possible as you are, your being. This is experiential, not intellectual. You get to experience what we're talking about. We will be basing this on the framework of the 5 missing assets to thrive generously. So the premise is that as you thrive, those around you do too. Again, the being model of power is win-win. The doing model of power, when we look at the hunter, is win-lose. That's what we see a lot in business and in corporate America. You become more of the embodiment, you yourself, like the majestic tree, the embodiment of thriving, and you lead just as much the power of your being as you do by example. This is leadership at its best. This is where you inspire others rather than the kind of the slippery slope sometimes that we can get into, which is about managing and directing and focusing on the outcomes, but losing that being piece or having that be malnourished and not understanding how that brings out the best in all that you do want to produce for outcomes. So we will be approaching everything through a leadership lens. So this is about exploring how you are a leader everywhere in your life. You don't need a title. You don't need an official role. It's a place that you come from in all that you be and all that you do and all that you touch. So when you look at things as if I'm a leader in relationship with myself, I'm the leader of that relationship. I'm a leader in relationship with all others, romantically, interpersonally with family, business, clients, community. I'm a leader in my business, whether I have that in my job title or not. I'm a leader in the world. I touch all of these ecosystems by my presence. So that is the lens through which we explore this opportunity. My intended results in this program is that you will experience inner world fulfillment and tangible real-world results. And yes, this is possible within 3 months because the power of being, which we access through consciousness, is the great equalizer. When you understand how to harness the power of your consciousness, you're no longer limited to either what you can figure out with your mind, do with your own body, or even linear time. So it is the great equalizer, and it activates ease, speed, and beyond what you could ever make happen on your own. And finally, the support that you'll be receiving is around embodying, experiencing, and expressing your purpose and your power with greater peace, confidence, and fulfillment. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of that. And again, if this speaks to you, reach out to me and I'm happy to chat with you to see if this is a match for you. So back to our final reason. Today, we're going to explore with reason number 5, which is you look for your fulfillment in the wrong place. We're going to explore what fulfillment is and is not and where to find it. The small shift that brings big abundance, the non-negotiable requirement to stop settling, missing asset number 5 to thrive generously, real life examples of how this shift supports you to thrive generously, and a practice and writing prompt. So let me just check any questions. Remember, please post your questions, your comments. Let me know how things are landing for you so I can answer your questions real time. And again, I'll come back afterwards if people post when you're catching the replay. So fulfillment. Let's begin now. I'd like you to consider, so if you're listening live, this is an opportunity. Think about something in your life or your experience, whether it's available to you now, whether it's a memory in the past, when you have been or are fulfilled. How do you know you're fulfilled? So just take a moment to consider that. And if you want to share in the chat, that would be super awesome. I'd love to hear, when are you fulfilled and how do you know? Let's see here. Helena, thank you for sharing that. I am not familiar, but I will look into that. Thank you. So when you're fulfilled, how do you know? Okay. And as you consider that, I'd also like you to consider when you are unfulfilled, how do you know? How do you know? Let's see. Naharim, you stop wanting. I think someone's been in my orbit. Yes, that's a great one. There's a feeling of wanting for nothing. All is right in the world. Anything else about how you know when you're fulfilled and how you know when you're not fulfilled? Helena, it's a knowingness. It's a knowingness. Fulfilled is a feeling. Yes, 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 yes. Awesome. Okay, so fulfillment is a feeling. Now, think about any area of life where you may currently feel unfulfilled, and think about what has been your strategy to feel fulfilled. So in case this is something you haven't considered before, I'm going to just go through a couple things that I know for a fact that I have certainly tried many ages ago when I was exploring fulfillment. And I see this a lot with my clients. Okay, so these clients come to me, all genders, and they're not fulfilled, they're not happy. Many of them, though, have achieved quite a bit and are quite successful. But that feeling of fulfillment, and I love how you all connected with this, it's a feeling. That feeling of fulfillment keeps eluding them. So what has been your strategy when you feel unfulfilled to try to become fulfilled? If any of these apply, just make a little note to yourself. Most people, if you don't really have this conversation, explore this, kind of unpack what we're unpacking today, will sort of on autopilot think to themselves, well, I'm unfulfilled, let me figure this out. So they start thinking and analyzing. Why am I unhappy? Why am I unfulfilled? They approach their lack of fulfillment or their underfulfillment as a problem to solve. So they do some problem solving, thinking analysis. They try to fix situations. They either try to fix themselves, like there's something wrong with them, or situations that they think are the cause of their unfulfillment. I am unfulfilled because X. I'm unfulfilled because I I'm not showing up to exercise, or there's something wrong with me because I don't have the relationship I want, or I'm feeling anxious. I need to fix this problem of anxiety, or I'm unfulfilled because I don't like my job, or I'm unfulfilled because my kids are really challenging right now and I'm just not happy. So you're trying to fix yourself or your situation. If any of this resonates, please share, let me know what strategies you've tried and if any of this is resonating for you. You might strategize or try to address this under or unfulfillment problem by avoiding yourself. So you don't feel fulfilled, so you avoid those feelings. You distract yourself. You might just get lost in different activities. Sometimes there's substance abuse. It can get really extreme when you're unfulfilled and unhappy in terms of, some really self-harming sorts of behaviors. So you might be avoiding yourself. You also might be avoiding conditions in your life or the world. Okay, sometimes that's a good thing because your consciousness creates your reality. For example, social media and things that we have no control over. There's definitely some value in moderating that for sure. But there are other situations in life conditions where we just, instead of really finding a way to work with them in a way that's empowering, we will just stick our head in the sand or avoid and really not show up. We won't know how to be powerful in that situation. So avoidance. Have you worked with unfulfillment by setting goals? Well, if I can just I'm going to set a goal, I'm going to make this happen. And if I make this happen and I crush this goal, I'm going through the rest of the list, setting goals, crushing goals, achieving goals, and then setting new goals, maybe because the fulfillment doesn't last. Little hint about where we're going with this. So if this has been your strategy for fulfillment, it might be falling short in terms of really actually delivering on your fulfillment. So that's my question to you. If you have been pursuing fulfillment through all of that, thinking, analyzing, goal setting, fixing, avoiding, how is that working for you? Are we there yet? Have you arrived at your fulfillment? Are you fulfilled? And if not, why not? Of course, some of these are rhetorical questions, but I really want to give everyone here an opportunity to think about what we are doing when we're not happy. Because a lot of times we have this yearning, this longing, and we just go on autopilot because it's all we've ever known. We're operating from that misinformation and missing information because we're products of our environment. Go back to the overview if you need to flush out what I'm talking about here. Sugar, yes. Avoiding, yes. Yeah. Mine, some people know, I had an eating disorder in my younger years, and it was very much a symptom of the fact that I had no idea how to actually begin to explore where my fulfillment was and how to actually nurture it, because all of the information I had was, well, you're supposed to be a good achiever. That's what you do. Do. So the eating disorder was the way it played out for me. And it was because I just absolutely lacked any sort of a framework for the being model of power and where my fulfillment actually was. All right. So let's illuminate more of this incorrect and missing information so you can actually get the correct information and the information you've been missing. The punchline to this whole exploration is you can't find lasting fulfillment as long as you're in seeking mode. As long as you're in seeking mode. So what does that mean? All of those strategies that I was highlighting are strategies of the hunter, and the hunter is the eternal, almost eternal seeker. The hunter wants a target to achieve, capture, or conquer. It seeks most of the time, okay? And then it captures it, and is fulfilled for a moment. That's what happens to us with goals, a moment, a week, or a day, or a month, not even a month usually. And then once it's hungry again, it's back in seeking mode. Now, the reason this will not give you fulfillment is your consciousness creates. So this goes back to what you were talking about, Nahareen. As long as you're seeking, your consciousness is, I want something I don't have. So you manifest you wanting something you don't have for as long as you're seeking, right? So we are trapped on the hard work treadmill. We are trapped in seeking mode, and we will be forever seeking our fulfillment because our consciousness is telling life, I don't have fulfillment. That's the real problem, okay? And it's just this whole catch-22. Additionally, you don't achieve fulfilled. You feel fulfilled. So all of you who are sharing, you nailed it. Fulfillment is a feeling. That's how you know you're fulfilled. But when you're in hunter mode, how much of you is actually feeling anything? Most of the time we're in our heads and we're in action. We're so disconnected from our being, our feelings, and our experience. How can you feel fulfilled if you're not feeling? They're two separate universes, okay? More illumination of missing and incorrect information. So let's now illuminate what fulfillment is and is not. And again, please share any ahas, insights, or things that are really landing for you. So fulfillment is not something you achieve, something you get, something you capture or conquer, something that's missing that you have to find, or something that you arrive at. These are all things that the hunter engages in: achieving, getting, capturing, conquering, finding something that's missing, and arriving. I've arrived, I got my target. That is not what fulfillment is. Fulfillment is something you feel, we've all identified that, something you experience, something that is already here. So when Nahareen, you said, I'm not wanting, right? You're wanting for nothing, okay? Because this feeling is here in this moment. It's right here, right now. Now, the thing to know about fulfillment is because you never actually arrive, it is a feeling that comes and goes for eternity. Oops, I did a duplicate here. So what this points to is happily ever after versus ever open to good fortune. Most of us approach fulfillment. First of all, here's the thing about happily ever after. The way we think of it, it usually is that it's actually a myth. Happily ever after does not exist the way most of us think of it. Most of us think of it like this fairy tale that it's usually used for, which is once I arrive, once I either get the goal, find Prince Charming, whatever that is, I will always be happy and never feel bad for the rest of my life. We actually think that's what enlightenment is, bliss, nirvana, all of that, okay? Now, as long as we're human beings in this realm of duality, there's going to be contrast. There's going to be love and fear, light and shadow, masculine, feminine, yin and yang, physical, non-physical, okay? Those dualities that's just part of the human experience. Now, if we try to latch onto the good and think that bad is never going to happen, how many times have you ever had that experience? As long as you're seeking that experience, you're going to have that experience, okay? Because it goes away. It's impermanent. Now, when we stop trying to chase this myth of, I will get the goal and arrive, forever be happy, and we actually understand that it's a myth, we start to free ourselves up to discover the alternative, which has been the missing information. So instead of capturing the happiness forever, which is impossible, we practice a new way of being, which is ever open to good fortune. That's the experience, the expression, and the embodiment of the majestic tree. The majestic tree does none of the hunter stuff. Life takes care of it, and all it does is be open to the good fortune, and it resists nothing. So let's go deeper into how this plays out. So in the doing model, or the masculine model of power, the tools that we use, which is thinking and doing and analyzing and planning and strategizing and taking action, those tools are excellent for producing finite outcomes. Now, we are looking for fulfillment, and fulfillment in the doing model is I produce an outcome, I hunt and capture the animal, and I'm looking for it out there, or it's a problem that I solve out there, and then I will feel the hunger, the wanting will go away. I'll feel fulfilled. I'll feel better. Remember in another module, we talked about how we seek control versus understanding true power. We seek control, so I'll feel safe. But all of that conquering of the outer world in order to feel better, you can experience some of it, but it will be limited to what you can do, and it will be impermanent because it's in the realm of the physical, which is impermanent. Everything in the physical world is impermanent. It is fleeting. It will pass. It will not last. And then you'll be back to hunting again. Okay, now in the being model of power, the tools that we use, which are the tools of consciousness, that's a whole other course, but those are the tools we use, and that's what we're beginning to explore here. These tools, when we learn how to work with these tools, which by the way are super simple, they're not always easy until we get some practice because they're so unfamiliar, but they're simple because they're not about thinking and problem solving and working hard. They're just about awareness. That's it. Awareness, breathing, feeling, experiencing. That's the human being part of us. So these tools are excellent for fulfillment because as you feel your own body, your own presence, you open up to being able to feel the fulfillment that is already here. Where do we look for this fulfillment? Within. This is where you turn to. You return to yourself, to your feelings, to this moment. Okay. And abundance is provided by life because you are an expression of life. You're not separate from life. So as you start to return to yourself, which is the consciousness of everything is right here, right now, rather than it's missing and it's out there, it's called oneness consciousness versus separation consciousness. That abundance is this wellspring. There's always something here that's arising. And that abundance is flowing through you, and it's flowing through all of life. It's natural. It's natural to you. And so instead of it being impermanent, it's an eternal flow. It's not finite, it's a flow, but it's always there like a fountain, if you know how to relate to it. So let's talk about what the cost is, okay, regarding this particular way that we settle. When you look for fulfillment by achieving things in the outer world, the fulfillment that you long for will be limited and fleeting at best. So you will settle for a life of eternal seeking because you're operating from the misinformation that seeking is the path to fulfillment. You will settle for a life of never enough. I'm not enough. There's not enough money. There's not enough jobs. There's not enough this. There's not enough good men out there. There's not enough good women out there. There's not enough opportunity. I mean, we start to look at everything through the lens of not enough, because in the finite world of form and the seeking, we're always operating from lack. So you will settle for a life of never enough, because you'll be trapped in hunter mode, where you're only satisfied and fulfilled until you're hungry again. And you will settle for believing that you must cope with feelings of unrest, anxiety, and loneliness, coping, because your sense of peace, safety, and I don't know, I got a typo there. Peace and safety and something depends on external conditions that cannot be controlled. Sorry for the typos here. Okay. So these feelings that you have, remember, fulfillment is a feeling. The feelings that are natural to being human. Sometimes we feel unrest. Sometimes we feel anxiety. Sometimes we feel loneliness. We will try to fix this. We'll try to fix it in ourselves. We'll try to fix the outer conditions in order to change the feelings. So at best, you will cope with these feelings, because you will not be able to truly access this wellspring of nurturing peace and safety that is available to you by relating to yourself powerfully. You'll be resorting to trying to control conditions. And the final cost is that you will settle for wrestling with the pursuit of happily ever after, because you'll be missing an alternative way of being, which is to be ever open to good fortune, the kindness life is always offering. So I'm curious how this is landing for you. Please post any ahas. Let me know how it's hitting you. And with that, we're going to start to move towards the home stretch here. So the small shift that brings big abundance. And remember, all of the shifts that we're making here are shifts in consciousness, shifts in how you're looking at it. There is nothing more powerful than when you change your point of view, because as Wayne Dwyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at changes. Your consciousness creates your reality, and it is the great equalizer. The moment you change the way you're looking at something, you become able to see it and experience it in a completely different way. It's the equivalent of the tree that just opens. It opens its flowers, it opens its leaves, it catches all the abundance that's here. It's your fulfillment, and the abundance is already here. You have to be willing to see how this is so. Simply be willing. So we shift from seeking your fulfillment by achieving outcomes to being curious about how your fulfillment is already here and can be accessed within you. It's already here. If you are not feeling it, it's simply because you don't know how to open to it, but it's already here. It's already here. So the non-negotiable requirement to stop settling, and this is, you have to do this, or you will continue to settle, because you'll just be continuing to do more of the same. The non-negotiable requirement to stop settling is you must commit to your relationship with yourself as your primary relationship for the rest of your life. Most of us, when we are operating from this faulty pursuit of fulfillment through achievement, we don't make our relationship with ourselves the number one priority, primary relationship. We make our relationship with all of these things, achieving, the primary relationship. My primary relationship is with achieving, with arriving, with figuring out, with fixing. But with me, my inner world, my feelings, we get so lost in the world of doing, because that's all we know, that this relationship with ourselves gets, again, we neglect and reject, and you cannot feel fulfilled as long as you neglect and reject parts of yourself. The moment you commit to your relationship with yourself being the primary relationship for the rest of your life and the highest priority, everything can change. So it's a matter of how you prioritize things. So that's the first non-negotiable. And the second one is, or the second piece of this, as you remain ever open to the natural abundance that flows through you, you remain ever open to the natural abundance that flows through life. Your consciousness creates. What you focus upon flourishes. And it's not so much about what you're focusing upon, which I talked about in another training, but how you relate to everything. If you are open to the abundance of everything in your being, which includes sometimes an abundance of sadness, an abundance of fear. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And we suffer because we haven't developed a way to relate to these aspects of ourselves in a way that feels soothing and feels nurturing. Because let's say you feel afraid, okay? There's going to be fear for the rest of our lives. That's part of the duality of life. But when you learn how to stop fighting it, avoiding it, and fixing it, which is what causes suffering, the fear will come and it will flow. All of life flows. And as you allow the things that you don't particularly like or want to flow through you, you remain open and receptive to the kindness of life. Life always offers kindness, always. Our opportunity is to practice being open, open, open. Okay. Comments, questions? All right. So I said this last time, and I'm going to say it again. The other non-negotiable, which is actually implied through all of this, is understanding that there's a universe of difference between knowing the path and walking the path. This training can only potentially inspire you to walk the path. I can point you to the path, and you can know a bunch of great ideas from this training. But if you really want to open up to thriving generously, fulfillment in ways better than you ever imagined, you have to walk the path. You have to practice these principles. This is one of the reasons I give you these at the end of each training, because I want you to just start practicing, There's many resources available to you that are free and low cost where you can just start experimenting with, okay? So there's a universe of difference between knowing the path and walking the path. If you walk the path, you remain ever open to good fortune, because the good fortune is along the path. It's not at the destination that you arrive, okay? It's not at the beginning of the trail where you don't walk it. As you walk the path, it's filled with abundance that you can receive. So let's go into missing asset number 5. Simply be. Simply be. So what does this mean? The power of being, which is the tree, the symbol, our mascot, the tree. The power of being is accessed through your relationship with you. You are a being. So the presence practice that I'm going to offer you is to practice noticing. So basically the practice is going to be an opportunity to shift from when you're in human doing mode to being mode, to human being mode. So the easiest practice that I can give you, or the simplest one I should say, because it's all awareness, is practice noticing when you're asking the question, what do I do? Or you notice that you're problem solving. This is the main, think of that as a little red flag. Oh, I'm in doing mode, doing. What do I do? I'm problem solving. What do I do? You're up here, okay? Or you're in action. Now it takes noticing. The minute you notice, you have just now activated your power, because once you notice and you're aware, now you can choose which mode you're in. You can shift from doing mode to being mode. So when you notice, oh, I'm problem solving, stop, take a breath. Imagine that breath as an opportunity to come now into your body, where you shift from thinking to feeling, from doing to being. And here's your affirmation and your practice. Let everything be as it is. What do I do? What do I do in problem solving? Stop, breathe. Let everything be as it is. This allows you to have take your eyes, symbolically speaking, from I'm working on a project, I'm working on a problem, my eyes are nose to the grindstone, doing mode, do. You stop, you be, you kind of look up. Oh, let everything be as it is. And then be curious. What is here now? Just have your being eyes on instead of your doing eyes. Just be curious. It will change your life. Less is more with being. Practice that and nothing else. And just be curious. The rest will unfold. If you'd like to do a little bit of writing, if you're a journaler, or you want to go deeper with this contemplation, here's a great contemplation. Consider and write about what is right in my life. Because when you are seeking and problem solving, you are not focusing on what is right in your life right here, right now. You are, by definition, your consciousness is directed to lack, fixing, problem solving, which means I've got problems, you're going to get more problems. So when you let everything be as it is, just stop and get curious about what is here, what is right in my life. Your consciousness creates your reality. You're opening up to the abundance that's right here, right now, just by being, practicing awareness, most powerful thing you can practice. Another contemplation is, what do I become aware of when I stop seeking and let everything be as it is? So you can just notice, but you could actually start saying it out loud if you're on a walk or doing dishes or whatever, just kind of a walking meditation, or write about it. Just sitting in this moment of writing, what is right in my life? Let everything be as it is. I'm going to stop problem solving. What do I become aware of? What is here now? Very powerful contemplations. Okay, so as I promised, more real life case studies about how you can thrive generously, which means as you thrive, others thrive, right? Through these very simple shifts and practices. So if you go to surpassyourlimits.com/5 reasons, you will see that the very first video in that playlist are client celebrations where they're sharing their stories of practicing these very principles. So Jeff, if you want to just go to the timestamps, you'll find Jeff. He's telling a story about being an eternal seeker who's always doing, the eternal doer, and the abundance that started to flow into his life when he became curious about how fulfillment is already here. That concept of fulfillment is already here just blew his mind. And so he tells that story, very inspiring. And then Erin, accomplished professional woman, she tells a story about how as she began to access the being model of power, it was an amazingly transformative experience in her life. And she started to experience new levels of thriving with work, money, and her sense of purpose and power in the world. Okay, lots of details and stories in there. So I invite you to check that out for some inspiration. And if you've been filling out our visual map of the 5 missing assets for thriving, and if you're new here, what this represents is that there are 3 facets to fulfillment. Being is how you feel within yourself, your relationship with yourself. We've talked a little bit about that today. So I feel at peace and joyful and fulfilled in myself. That's one aspect, one facet of fulfillment. Another facet of fulfillment is about expanding your capacity to receive more of what you want with life with much more ease, speed, and beyond what you could have imagined. Receiving is its own skill. So when you start shifting from the only way I can receive what I want is I have to work hard to how do I become a better receiver like the tree, more opens up for you. So that's missing information that becomes illuminated. And this final piece is we want to give. We want to circulate the abundance. We want to thrive for ourselves, but we want to make the world a better place in some way, whether it's our little tiny orbit or on a large scale or something in between. Okay, these are 3 aspects of fulfillment that every smart woman, every accomplished woman I've ever talked to, including myself, and pretty much every human being, when you've got these 3 facets well nurtured, you start to really experience a life of fulfillment beyond what you've known before. So with that, we've been talking about the 5 missing assets. And as a recap, since this is our last one, number 1, you don't believe you're worth it. The missing asset is space to be. Number 2 is you're afraid and you lose hope. The missing asset is claim safety. Number 3 is you don't believe you're capable. Claim support. Number 4 is you limit yourself. Stand in your sovereignty. And today is number 5, you look for fulfillment in the wrong place. Simply be. Simply be. So you can fill that in. And if any of that was like, oh yeah, what was that about? You can go back to the trainings, okay? So your next steps today, there are no more live trainings. So feel free to post your questions or comments here on Facebook, send me a direct message, submit your questions on my website, surpassyourlimits.com/questions. And feel free to watch the replays as much as you need to. Enjoy, contemplate, let it wash over you, practice. And I'd love to hear how it goes for you. Finally, if you would like to learn more about the Thrive Generously program to see if it's a match for you, email me directly, customercare@surpassyourlimits.com, DM me on Facebook, reach out if you've got other ways to reach out to me. I am happy to connect you with the resources that will help you go deeper with the 5 assets. Every single program I offer incorporates the 5 missing assets. So it's just about, are you focusing on being? Are you focusing on wanting to receive more? Or are you wanting to give, to look at life through the lens of, I am a leader everywhere. How can I give and contribute from my presence, my beingness, rather than my doingness? So any final questions for today? You are so welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for this opportunity to kick off the new year with you. I am looking forward to a very powerful 2023. I am here to serve. So if there's any way that I can support you, please reach out, customercare@surpassyourlimits.com, and we will connect you with the resources and the recommendations that will help you to thrive generously. All right. Thanks, everyone. You are welcome, Helena. I'm so glad this was valuable. Okay. Bye, everyone.